Hey, I'm Ahmad, and this is my podcast, Let's Get an A Today. This is my co-host,
I'm Dylan.
Dylan Lopez. I just wanted to let the listeners know that today, this episode will be shot entirely at a graveyard, just to add to the gothic theme. We decided to shoot it in a graveyard because, it deals with death. It fits with the gothic theme of the episode today. All right, let's get it started. How you doing today, Dylan?
I'm doing pretty good myself. Here I'm joining you in the graveyard in order to add to the gothic and dark theme of today's episode.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. Today we're going to be covering the short story,
The Feather Pillow.
The Feather Pillow by Corey.
We apologize. We don't truly know how to pronounce that last
name. It's pretty confusing last name.
We'll just call him the author Q.
The author Q. Today we're discussing the short story by The Feather Pillow. To give you a quick narrative, the story starts off with a wife and a husband named Alicia and Jordan. They're newly married. They begin to move into a house where immediately Alicia doesn't like it. She feels a very creepy, sinister vibe about the house. She doesn't want to live there, but they move in anyway, ignoring what she feels. And then throughout the story, she begins to grow ill. When she starts working on the garden, she stumbles a bit and she realizes she's starting to fall ill. And it gets worse and worse throughout the story. Jordan notices, and it gets to the point where she just becomes bedridden, where she can't get out of her bed. She's stuck in bed. Jordan gets worried. He calls a doctor. They call many doctors to come see what's wrong with Alicia, but no one can tell her. No one knows what's wrong with her. And towards the end of the story, Alicia has a nightmare. And she gets really scared. She screams. She calls Jordan. He comes to comfort her and make her feel better. She can't leave her bed at this point of the story, and at the very end, she passes away in her sleep. The doctors they didn't know what was wrong with her, and when they already clear everything out, the maid comes into her room, and she's picking up the pillows, and she finds red blood stains under the pillow, and she gets really scared and calls Jordan, the husband. And as they inspect the pillow, they drop it and get scared and they scream because they found a blood sucking
virus.
Yeah, a blood sucking virus that was the cause of Alicia's death. It was sucking her blood while she was on the bed. The entire time she was bedridden, her blood was being sucked out by her head by this virus. And that's how the story ends,
Yes, that the virus, we could say, is pretty common amongst pillows made out of feather. And that is how the short story ends.
So at the very end, they mention how it's coming amongst the feather pillow, which might be ironic.
Okay, so that's a pretty good narrative of what the story is about. And I want to ask you for your opinion. What did you think? What did you personally think about the story itself?
At first, I really liked the story from the very beginning. I thought it was gonna be something else. I didn't expect it to be something so normal and explainable. I guess I expected something supernatural, but I liked it. I liked the whole storyline of the new married couple move into this creepy house. It starts off like a lot of other gothic narratives. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the end, how the explanation was so simple, and how it left a mystery of whether or not she knew about the parasite being in the pillow. What did you think about the story?
I personally liked it, but it was confusing for me at first. When I saw Alicia's health starting to deteriorate, I thought it was due to the husband. Like the husband was doing something to her, and I don't know why I didn't take into account the title, The Feather Pillow. But I was stuck on that the husband was the cause of her health deteriorating over time. And when I found out that it was actually a virus living inside her, the pillow that she was laying on every night, it really took a turn for me and threw a wrench in it for me. So, you also, when you were explaining, you explained about how she might have known that there was a virus in the pillow, and can you further elaborate on that?
Yeah, see, that was what me and our friends discussed, sort of a mystery of the story, because obviously they couldn't tell whether she knew or not, but we discussed how we thought that it's pretty obvious if there's a parasite or a virus sucking blood through your head, through a pillow, how you would feel or notice that. And then we also talked about how the husband would sometimes neglect the wife, and we were talking how that would like make her depressed and suicidal and all. It really adds to the gothic element of the story.
Yeah.
And in the end, we thought that, well, I thought personally that she did know about the parasite. She wouldn't mention it, and because the doctors would also tell her, and the doctors would explain how, I guess, her deterioration or how worse she got only happened at night. During the day, she wouldn't her sickness wouldn't increase, but every night when she would sleep on her pillow,
Every day, every morning, she would wake up worse
yeah,
than
she
the
would
day
wake up
before.
worse than the day before every night. What about you? What do you think about it?
I I don't know. That's a weird topic for me. I personally don't think she would have noticed because it was feathers, and I personally have had a feather pillow, and they tend to like poke and like pinch me, I guess, or like not really pinch me, but because it's feather, it pokes you in the back of your head. So I don't think I would be able to notice it unless because this story is pretty old. So in that time period, I wouldn't say that the pillows are what's it called? I would say that the pillows have improved a lot since then, and it's nothing like we have today. And I wouldn't have noticed if I felt something pricking me in the back of the head, because my first thought to my mind wouldn't be that there's a virus inside the pillow, more as it's just one of the ends of the pillow. All right, what do you think is one of the gothic themes that is incorporated within the feather pillow?
I think one really ironic gothic theme was helplessness, and how she felt stuck. She was bedridden. She couldn't really do anything. But at the same time, how the thing that was making her sick was being bedridden.
Yeah.
The virus under her pillow. That was pretty ironic. How she was just helpless. She couldn't do anything. As her sickness just got worse and worse, she was stuck in bed more and more. She couldn't do anything until she ultimately just died. Which the death and the helplessness really added to the gothic theme of the story.
Yeah. So incorporating more on death, I would that is what I found as the main like gothic theme within the feather pillow, because sure, the house that they were in, it was beautiful, and we could tell that it was pretty luxurious because they had servants within it, but death, the entire story was surrounded around death, which is dark and what gothic mainly is about. And the Alicia's passing is one of the many symbols incorporated within the feather pillow.
Yeah, I think another symbolism was just creepy, the ominousness of the house when they first moved in. How Alicia kind of knew something was wrong already. She didn't want to move in. She said she felt a sinister feeling. She came into the house, and ultimately she was right. That really added to the gothic theme of the story.
Yeah, and in the story, the author says that Alicia, she would feel hot and cold chills, showing that she wasn't really taking in this home as her own, because she didn't when she was there, she wouldn't feel like home. She would feel like something's wrong, like she wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Which ultimately led to her death. Sorry about that cut, folks.
Yeah, the camera happened to die.
Yeah, technical issues. Alright, so we were talking about the virus, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think the virus truly symbolized within the feather pillow?
In my opinion, the virus symbolized the relationship of Alicia and Jordan. I'd say the same way that the parasite would slowly make her more sick, make her worse than ill,
And draining.
it would drain her.
Yeah.
I think the relationship was the same, in the same way that the relationship would get worse and worse. And Alicia and Jordan, they wouldn't know what the problem is, the relationship. The same way as the parasite, they wouldn't know how she was getting worse. They wouldn't know how to fix it until ultimately it was too late. It was like they could do. When Alicia passed, the relationship obviously couldn't get fixed, and they didn't find out until the parasite until after.
Yeah.
I think the parasite truly symbolized the relationship. It really adds to the gothic theme of the story. How it also the depression of his wife would make her worse and worse.
Yeah, and I truly agree with that. I can't really add much more, but that's all the time we really got this episode. And as a final question, I want to ask you, what would you rate it, the book out of 10?
Ooh, it was a really good book at the end. The story was really good. It made me think a lot. I would say I'd give it a 9. What about you?
I liked it. I think it was well written, and for that reason, I would give it a 7 or 8.
Alright.
8, yeah.
Well, thank you, Dylan, for your time.
Yeah.
For coming on my podcast. Have a good night.